Hey guys, it's me, Jake from JakeMan21642. Today I have a long overdue update video for you guys of my daily driver, my 2012 Volvo S60 T6 all-wheel drive. I was looking at my channel last night and I realized I haven't made a video of this car in close to 6 months, and I really do apologize for that. At the end of the last semester of school, when I did buy this car, I ended up going straight into working full-time, so I'm now working full-time at Volvo Cars Richmond, the dealership I have filmed for forever, working 5 or 6 days a week and having a lot going on outside of school too. I just signed papers and moving a month into my first apartment, all on my own, so I've had a lot going on and I really just haven't had the free time to get out and make a video. Figured I would do that today. So as I mentioned, my 2012 Volvo S60 T6 all-wheel drive, decent amount of stuff has changed since the last time you guys have seen it, but probably one of the nicest things now is my commute went from around 90 to 120 miles a day down to about 10 or 15 miles a day at the absolute most. And now that I'm working in used cars, I'm a used car manager, I get to drive work cars home a lot, which I do take advantage of. Free gas, free car, why not? So the miles have actually stayed pretty low on this for something I've owned. It's actually felt kind of crazy to me not putting an insane amount of miles on a car, but also something I've really come to appreciate as well. So outside, of course, on this car, obviously windows are tinted. I did that probably 2 days after buying it. I have the 35% tint all around. I really can't stand the way, especially cars like this look without tint, and I cannot live being in the South with a black leather interior. It is absolutely horrible if you don't have tint. So now that it's getting to the point where it's 80, 90 degrees outside every day, I'm really glad I had that done. Tires, still the same ones that were on it when I bought it, the Goodyear Eagle Sports. And they're still, I'd say, probably 70% at this point. They're wearing pretty well. Now that it's warm outside every day, they're a little bit grippier. I have to say I mind these tires a little bit less now with the nice weather. They're definitely for an all-season more of a summer-type tire, I would say, but they are still all-seasons. I really still want to get a set of Michelins on this car probably by the end of summer. Outside, around the rear, you can see this car has picked up a couple more stickers. More notable things too, as I'm sure you can notice, is I did get new plates. I had the just typical Virginia plates, but I figured the Blue Ridge Parkway ones would kind of set the car off a little bit more, especially with just the silver exterior, adding a bit of color, and that bit of blue matches a little something else I had done to the car. So I did finally have the Polestar tune done on the car by the dealership that I work at. I kind of promised myself if I got the promotion I would go ahead and do it, really put that employee discount to use, and I have to say it's one of the best things I've ever done to a car. I'll do a test drive and talk more about the characteristics of the Polestar tune, but I'll also insert right here a 0 to 60 video of the tune. So yeah, as you can see, it really does make a difference. It makes this car absolutely hilarious, and not only does it make the car faster, the throttle response is a lot better. The transmission tuning is impressive, the way it will hold gears and it will downshift. I finally understand what it's like to have a car with a good automatic transmission. But as I said, Polestar tune, I'd be lying if I said 80% of the reason I did it wasn't for that badge. But T6 all-wheel drive badges. And this, of course, just has the standard rear bumper. A lot of people do swap the R-Design rear diffuser onto these, but I don't know if I'm a huge fan of that. I kind of just like having the stock sleeper dad Volvo status of this car. But dual exhaust, of course, one of the best looking parts of this car. On the passenger side, everything pretty much the same. Window tint and all that. One thing I will point out, and this hurts every time I look at it, is I finally did curb a wheel. And it's actually, I've noticed, a little hard to curb these wheels, because if you look, the sidewall of the tire does stick out further than the wheel, but I do street park and it was bound to happen. I had someone park really close to the back of my car and I just cut the wheel too hard pulling out and scraped it. Luckily my new place I'm moving to does have off-street parking, so that won't be an issue, and I've got an alloy wheel guy at work. It's about 75 bucks a wheel, so I'm going to get that fixed, but it hurts every time I look at it. Luckily you can't see it from too far away. Up front, Another one of the more noticeable things is I do have a overseas delivery plate on the car now. If you don't know what these are, it's typical of the Volvos when you do overseas delivery. They come back with these plates and people usually just leave them on. I didn't pick up this car overseas, obviously buying it used. One of the technicians at work who had a S60R, he gave this to me, and I think he got it off of a customer car that didn't want it, but I think it's cool because it actually is a 2012 plate and this is a 2012 car, and unfortunately Virginia does require front plates, and between the window tint and not running a front plate, I think that would be pushing it a little bit, so I just put my standard plate over it, and then I have this. Some people say it looks stupid. Some people love it. I think it looks really cool. Really sets the car apart, and I'm leaving it. These are the Bi-Xenon headlights, and they are the active bending headlights as well, which before owning them, I would have told you that's really a gimmick feature, but it is so cool to have at night. It's probably become one of my favorite things about this car to have. It's so nice, and the Xenon headlights as well, finally having something with HIDs, and not just I went on eBay and slapped $20 HIDs in my reflector housing ones. Having actual proper HIDs is such an upgrade. And you can see too, of course, typical Volvo, you have the LED daytime running lights built into the grille. And of course too, one other thing I love is having the feature where when you're approaching the car at night, you can walk up, press this button, and it will illuminate your LED lights, your parking lamps, and then the puddle lamps underneath of the mirrors. Stepping in, everything is pretty much the same inside. Of course, power driver seat, 3-person memory. I did condition the leather today with some actual Volvo leather care kit, and it came out pretty well. I actually will probably get another one of those because it conditions the seats very well. They feel great, but they don't look shiny like most leather conditioners do. They actually just look like nice leather, but the seats are wearing very well. I try to be careful getting in and out and just to keep the interior as clean as possible, but it is my daily driver. I really have not vacuumed this car in a while, and I need to. Start it, insert the key, and just and inside of this car you will see, I think the last time I filmed it, it had about 50 or 51,000 miles at the most, and right now I'm sitting right under 53,000 miles, so I haven't been putting a lot of miles on the car, which has actually been nice. That being said though, it's still under the CPO warranty. I still have plenty of time left on that if something does break, and so far it's only been in once for that warranty. I had the passenger side mirror of all things, not even the entire mirror, just the mirror glass fell off. So took it in to get that replaced, and the technician that was working on it, I'm good friends with, and he noticed that my vacuum pump up under the hood was also leaking, so the car got a new mirror as well as the vacuum pump replaced. Completely nothing out of my pocket, all covered under warranty, which was very, very nice. And so far, otherwise, no problems, which, if you had told me I was going to buy a 300 horsepower all-wheel drive European car and drive it for close to 8 months now and be completely problem-free, I would have laughed in your face, but this car has been insanely reliable and I'm not worried about it at all. I will probably keep it for a long time after the warranty is over, which I think my record at this point for keeping a car is close to 3 years, about 2.5 years, so I'm really looking forward to spending some time with this. But inside, everything else is about the same. Leather-wrapped wheel, cruise control. This one just has standard cruise control. It doesn't have adaptive. I could care less about that. You have the audio system controls on this side, which I love this. When you're scrolling through the satellite radio, you can control all of that from the wheel. I've never even had a car that had factory satellite radio before this, so that's one of the things I love is how integrated that is. On the door panel, all the soft material up top. You have the leather around here, all wearing very nice. I definitely like in the pre-facelift models, the graining that this leather has a lot more on the seats around here and on the doors compared to just the normal leather that the newer ones have. All the automatic windows, power locks, power mirrors, just some storage down below. Now, one thing I will say about this car is the entire door panel, I mean, even down here is soft material, but it's just plastic inside of the door. Well, this part of the door pocket is padded, but down here it's all plastic, so you do have to be careful sometimes what you place in here, or if you have the stereo cranked up, they will kind of rattle around. can see I have the bottle of cologne, and I've actually placed a napkin underneath of it just to keep it from rattling. And I mean, if that's one of the worst things going on in the car, I think I'm doing pretty good. Headlight controls are over here. They're typical Volvo, where you can just leave the headlights on all the time, and when you cut the car off, they cut off. It's like Subaru. It's impossible to turn the headlights on without having the car on. Gauge dimmer, rear fog light controls, as well as your fuel cap, trunk release, electronic parking brake, which I've definitely gotten more used to having the electronic parking brake. It's pretty nice because when you have your seatbelt on and the brake is on, just put it in a drive, tap the gas, brake cuts off, and it's very fast too. It's not like a lot of new cars where it almost feels like you stall because the brake takes so long to cut off. It's very normal. Dashboard, everything's wearing pretty well. It's not like a lot of the new Inscription models with the leather dash where they start peeling after 2 months. It's all typical Volvo. In the middle, the gauges, I've said it before, I still prefer this cluster to the digital cluster that the newer ones have. At night, this cluster is just so beautiful. It's so clean looking. It's simple. Now, you can see right there, that's my estimated distance to empty for pretty much that much gas. Yeah. 3-liter turbocharged car, automatic transmission, and all-wheel drive. That's about as, I would say, because see, I live so close to work that usually I don't even take the highway. I'll just surface street it the entire way there because it actually takes just as long. And with pretty much, I'd say 95% city driving, I average about 18 in this car, but it's worth it. You can keep your 4 cylinders all day long. I don't care. It is worth every second in this car. And once again, that's one of the worst things I'm dealing with. I'm really not going to complain. I would put premium in this car from the beginning. You can run regular in these cars. I put premium in it from the beginning, but after doing the Polestar tune, it does require premium, but worth it. With as little as I drive now, a tank of gas will last me a week and a half, if not 2 weeks, every time anyway. In the middle, Census display, typical Volvo stuff. Your radio, media, telephone, my car, all of that. Easy to use. I believe when I had the Polestar update done, it updated all of this too, to the latest software versions. I still have to say the stereo in this car is probably one of my favorite parts. It just sounds so good. I mean, the stereo in this car, it's kind of like Volkswagens where you have to go through and really play with the settings and play with the equalizer. But once you fine tune it, I really don't regret the fact that this car doesn't have the Harman Kardon system. I do this because that's where the center channel would be if it had it. Really don't regret that anymore. This system is more than enough. It honestly blows away, I'd say, probably 75% of the new cars that I'm in today. It's a really good system. You just have to fine tune it. One of my friends, actually, we were driving around and she goes, I want to get a subwoofer in my car so it sounds like the one you have. So to people who don't know a lot about audio systems, it actually has enough of a punch that it really does sound like a subwoofer. I can say that because I was in high school and I had my subwoofer in my typical high school kid 93 Honda and my 94 Saturn. But all the controls around here, it's very easy to use. As I showed, you can scroll through everything from the wheel. You have your media, Bluetooth audio streaming, you can see too, CD player. That's one thing I will say, and I know I'm the minority on this one. I do actually miss from my 03 Accord I had before this, I kind of miss having a CD changer. I always kept CDs in my car. It's just how I am. I'm a music person, and I loved that in my Accord, how I would just load up the CD changer, I'd forget what's in there, and then I'd be bored on a road trip and hit the CD changer and just have random things in there. But like I said, I know I'm the minority on that one. The next generation of the S60 probably won't even have a CD player. But for the Bluetooth audio and everything else, I think the last time I did a video of this car, I did still have my Galaxy S8, but I recently, or back in December actually, switched to the iPhone X. And I have to say, this Census system is definitely a lot better integrated for an iOS device than for a Android device. It definitely always will pick up my phone. I never have any issues with streaming or anything like that, which I didn't have it that much with the Galaxy S8, but it was there. It would happen. A lot of times I'd have to prompt it to connect, or sometimes I'd be streaming and I'd have to close Spotify and reopen it to get it to work, but no issues at all with the iPhone with this. Dual zone automatic climate control, of course, heated seats. Right here, the button, as I showed before, to fold the rear seat headrests. I just keep them down all the time, and then 6-speed automatic, manual mode, and sport mode, which Until I did the Polestar tune on this car, I was not aware that all-wheel drive cars can actually have torque steer, but they can. When you pop this thing into sport mode and you floor it, there's a little bit of torque steer. It's hilarious and it is so much fun. It's still very controlled. As I said, the Polestar tune really taught me what it's like to have a properly tuned automatic and made me have absolutely no regrets with buying this car. It's very, very nice. I mean, reverse. This is pretty much just a standard T6, so no backup sensors or backup camera, but I do have the mirror set to power tilt down. Since I do street park, that's very nice, even though that didn't save that poor wheel over there. Cup holders back here under the cover, and then 12-volt outlet, of course. Storage in there. Now you can see in the USB port, I do have this run under the passenger seat and up through the pillar, because I finally did get a dash cam for the car. I had the Papago dash cam in my Accord, which was the one that fit over the mirror. This car, since it actually does have a factory auto-dimming review mirror with a compass, I didn't want to cover that up, so I believe this is like the first one that comes up on Amazon when you type in dash cam. It's Aki or OK, I don't know how you pronounce that, but for a cheap off-brand dash cam that I think was 60 bucks, it actually works really well. The video quality is pretty good, and it's nice to have. Screen cuts off after, I believe, a minute, so it's not distracting. I forget it's there most of the time. Then I have my Easy Pass on that side. Sunroof controls everything else up here. Sunroof. I mean, I think anyone that watches my channel knows what the inside of a Volvo S60 looks like at this point. Step out, show you around the rest of the car. Inside the back seat. Now, this is one thing definitely coming from a mid-sized sedan Honda Accord to more of a compact luxury car. Definitely backseat space is reduced, but I mean, I'm 6'2". I can still sit behind myself comfortably, no problem back here. It's very comfortable. Plenty of headroom, and the seats themselves are definitely more comfortable than the Accord, but the Accord did have a bigger back seat. I still use this car to go to concerts with friends all the time, or go on trips with friends, because I hate to sound like a snob, but usually I'm the one with the nicest car, so usually I'm the one driving. But I'm always the one driving, so I've had 2-3 people in the back seat plenty of times in this car, and it's doable. Just there is less space than what I came from, but still, it's a 4-door. It's very easy to carry people. You can see, and this is part of the reason I've always owned 4 doors, is I hardly ever use the trunk. I always just throw my junk in the back seat. As you can see from all of my work stuff over here. But you do have the headrest pop back up as I showed, and then armrest in the middle, cup holders, storage, and then this can fold down and act as a trunk pass-through. Power outlet in the center, and you can see too, I finally did get a set of all-weather mats for the rear seat. These are the Volvo OEM ones, but it's nice to actually have all-weathers, and then I still have the WeatherTech floor liners up front. One of the things too I really like about the back seat, even though I don't think I've ever ridden back here, is you have the vents built into the pillars up here, which are a lot more effective than most cars that just put them in the center and have them blow straight into this. These actually keep the back seat cool. I mean, even with the fan on one of the lower speeds right now, it's still very noticeable and nice back here. Inside the trunk, I did take the rear plate frame I had off on the back of the car because it was just the one for the dealership I work at and where the car came from, but it covered up most of where it says Virginia. And while cops here have better things to worry about than that, I could easily see that becoming an issue traveling out of state with an officer not being able to see where the plate's from. So just to avoid that, I went ahead and took it off. I think I had done this by my last video too, but I do have LED plate bulbs installed. I can't stand the fact that even in 2017 and 2018, these cars still come with halogen bulbs. It is so ugly, and this is something that's $10 and takes 5 minutes to swap out. Everyone that has one of these cars should do it. It was so easy. You just need some little Torx bits, and they just pop out, and you can change the bulb. It looks so much better. You can also see the spot I've never noticed where a backup camera would be if this car had it, and then right here is you can pop this grommet out, and that's where you can insert the key to open the trunk if the battery died or something. Inside though, plenty of space. Like I said, the trunk's a mess because I hardly ever use it. I just throw stuff in the back seat 90% of the time. So, I've got my Aldi bags, I've got my bag of detailing stuff up there, tools, because I'm still in the mentality from all my crappy cars I've owned that I need to carry my tools everywhere. And then they need to be cleaned off, but these are the matching all-weathers for up front. Like I said, I like the WeatherTechs more, but at least I have the all-weathers to the back seat now. Fuel cap, as I said before, car does need premium now that it's Polestar tuned, but if you can afford one of these, I think you can afford premium gas, or you're buying the wrong car to begin with. And up front, you can see the HID headlights, as I mentioned earlier, probably have become one of my favorite parts of this car. And then under the hood, typical of all the Volvo T6s, you have the 3-liter turbocharged inline 6-cylinder, which it's a little dusty under here, but I try to keep it clean. This is the first car I've ever owned where I actually feel like it's worth keeping clean under the hood. I found out looking through the service records and dealer track at work that when this was on the lot before I bought it, the battery died and actually got replaced under warranty. So battery in this car is not even a year old. That's one less thing I have to worry about. And otherwise, everything's running great. As I said, I have the Polestar tune done, and then that mirror, or the mirror glass, has been replaced, and the vacuum pump has been replaced, or the vacuum pump's been replaced. Those are the only things that have been done in the time I've owned it. And one other thing, typical of these, the blue on the Volvo badge peeled off, so I got that replaced under warranty too. That's not that big of a deal. That's pretty typical of any Volvo built after like 2005. The badges will just peel off, so running great, everything. I got the oil changed at 52,000 miles when I had the Polestar tune done. And one nice thing is too now, since I don't do a lot of highway driving, is unlike the Accord, the front end of this car has not become rock chip city. I honestly like this car enough that even though it's a 2012, I would still consider doing a clear bra or some kind of paint protection over the front. But as always, guys, I know this has been kind of a long, drawn-out, rambly video, but I haven't done one in a while. I figured instead of trying to think of everything I've done, I would just go through and do a walkthrough, show the car. I'd say, well, not that side. This side, where the badge is, right there. Probably my favorite angle of this car. If you can't tell by this video, I've definitely gotten to the point where I'm a little more comfortable with the car. I'm a little more used to it. When I first bought it, I really felt like this car was too nice for something I should own, but at this point, I earned it. I worked my ass off to get this car. I've worked my ass off to get to where I am and to have something like this, and I still appreciate it every day. This car still puts a smile on my face every day when I walk out to it, and it will be around for a while. I don't think I've ever felt this attached to and loved one of the cars I've owned this much. But as always, guys, any questions, comments, anything like that, drop them down below, and thanks for watching. Subscribe for more.